Good evening and welcome to Roundtable. Today we have with us Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera. He is the General Manager of the Sri Lankan Convention Bureau, and also he has been the former Director Marketing in the Tourist Board and also a former diplomat. So good evening, Mr. Wanigasekera.
Good evening and Aibuan.
Aibuan. So Mr. Wanigasekera, let us start the discussion introducing you. So why don't you do it yourself, letting us know your background as a diplomat and also the Director of the Tourism Board, and now in your present position of the General Manager?
I'm a product of the Royal College, and after I left school I went on to do my marketing studies and got the degree, that's a CIM marketing degree, and from there onwards I went on to do the master's degree in business management at the PIM, and that's the education part of it. And I was in the private sector for quite some time, nearly 15 years, before I saw this advertisement, which I thought was a challenging task. That is, they were calling for a director marketing at the Tourist Board. At a time, I think that was the most traumatic time the country was going through.
This was in the 1990s.
In the 90s, early 90s, where bombs were going all over. If you remember the Deepamala bomb, the central bank bomb, and I felt that I should take up this challenge. So I responded to this advertisement, and then I was chosen. And since then, we had to develop several strategies to deal with this situation. The biggest problem was that, although the tourists were not the targets and they were not affected, there was misinformation, disinformation. People didn't want to come to a country which they believed was at war. So that had to be countered effectively. So it was apart from your marketing exercise, you also have to go one step further to deal with all this adverse publicity. So that was quite an experience, and I must say that we had reasonably good success in our efforts, because even at that time we were bringing in 300,000 to 400,000 tourists into the country, and there was a lot of hard work. And I also had the privilege of working with the personalities like Mr. Taha, who is called the father of tourism, and also Mr. H.M.S. Samaranayaka, who was the chairman of the Tourist Board. He was the former DG, and my colleagues Lantra, Mahil, so they became experts in tourism. So I had the privilege of working with them, and they were quite supportive. And also on the one hand, that you have limited resources to do tourism promotion, because at that time tourism promotion was not really the priority, because if you look at the macro picture, and at the same time you need to retain your base and secure whatever the business you are getting. And so we were doing quite well in that respect for some years.
So it was, as a Director Marketing of the Tourist Board, it was pretty challenging in that context.
Exactly, yes.
And then also you were also a former diplomat, right? When did that happen?
Well, the reason was because that was the time the Minister of Foreign Affairs was looking for a few professionals who can deal with this counter propaganda, because it was because apart from the misinformation and disinformation, there was also a deliberate propaganda to tarnish the image of the country. And being in the Tourist Board, that is what we were doing actually. And then the minister, the late Kadragama, he picked me, and then he felt that that I could do a better job in the foreign service. So my first assignment was in Malaysia, and I was there for nearly 3 years. Of course, your task varies from country to country, and then you need to sort of define your own role, apart from maintaining your diplomatic relations with the country.
So in Malaysia you were posted as
the consular.
Right.
And now what happens is that your strategy in Malaysia may not work in Sweden or Norway. So you need to sort of come up with your own strategy that will bring in the best possible results. For example, now the Malaysia has what we call the Ceylonese community. Now these are the Tamil community, the descendants of those who have been there, and they have never been to Sri Lanka. All what they hear is, from the newspapers, and they are a very affluent community. There are lawyers, judges, the doctors. So your approach to correct the image and to tell the truth has to be totally different to another situation.
So it's pretty country specific. Exactly,
and then at the same time you have to look at the economic side. I mean, you need to sort of promote investment, trade at the same time. So it's a multi kind of a purpose. Yeah, I mean, your role has to perform several functions at the same time.
And also after Malaysia, you were also posted elsewhere, is it?
Yes, I mean, I believe that my assignment was considered a success, and then I was cross-posted to open the mission in Oslo in 1999. And initially they thought they will start as a consulate general, so I was actually the first consul general. And there again, you had to develop your own program, the plan and the strategy as to how you are going to deal with the situation. Apart from I mean, that was the time actually Norway was also invited as the peace broker. And then there is also a massive anti-propaganda campaign that was going on that you had to deal with. And at the same time, most importantly, and I believe this has to be done even now, that there are a lot of moderates, I mean, who want to see peace in Sri Lanka, and they are not sort of pro any groups. So you need to reach out to these moderates and win the hearts and minds, because after all, if you look back, there have been issues. So you need to heal the wounds and then convince them that that there are no ethnic issues anymore.
So now becoming as a diplomat, being posted in countries like Malaysia and also Oslo, I think must have given you a lot of experience to actually perform the functions you are now doing as the general manager of the Sri Lanka Convention Bureau, isn't it, Mr. Wanigasekera? So my question to you is, now things have changed a lot from the war era, where actually, as you said, there was a lot of adverse publicity, and there was a particular strategy that has to be adapted by you. Now, because it's a post-conflict era, how has the dynamics changed? How has the landscape of everything changed? And in that context, how do you see the challenges for tourism?
Well, I mean, even at that time, although perhaps it was a dream, but then we knew that this conflict will come to an end one way or another. And then we were geared, and then the fact that you were interacting with most of the investors, the traders, and the potential customers for Sri Lanka, whether it is for tourism or trade or investment. Now that training that you received does help you now, because today it's a different scenario altogether. It's like the pendulum has swung completely to the other side. And now we are in the peace scenario, so all the training that you received, all the, although you don't adopt the same thing, but you know exactly how to approach your foreign customers, the buyers, the tour operators, the meeting planners, and that training is really an asset that we carry now.
Because I guess at that time, if we did it with a lot of adverse publicity and a lot of difficulty, those obstacles have basically been taken in terms of the fear of tourists traveling to Sri Lanka and so on. So, but in that context, how do you see the role of especially the Convention Bureau, and what is the Convention Bureau?
Okay, Sri Lanka Convention Bureau, before that I must quickly explain to you that the Tourist Board does not exist anymore. The Tourism Act has established 4 institutions under the Ministry of Tourism, namely the Tourism Development Authority, the Tourism Promotion Bureau, Sri Lanka Convention Bureau where I work, and the Hotel School.